Good morning to you, wherever you are in the world. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. Welcome to the infinite way where spirituality meets humanity. And I want to introduce you to someone very, very special. His name is David Groode, who is an awakener and has been doing intuitive readings and numerology for over 30 years. Working with an international global clientele, David has created a rock star career as an intuitive reader, supporting people to see what they can't see in order to achieve their dreams. Their clarity comes through in one session with David, and that can take years to arrive at in life, making it breakthrough acceleration towards healing and integration and taking your life to the next level, or what I like to say, the next octave. So welcome, David Groode.
That's that's perfect. Hi, thank, thank you, Dr. Anolia. You're so awesome on every level, and thank you for having me on here. It's such a gift and such a great pleasure to be here with you and with everyone listening. And thank you all.
And I'm so excited to have you here because our topic is going to be focused on the awakening, the awakening. And awakening can mean so many different things for so many different people. And first, I'd like to start off with you defining what awakening means to you as it pertains to engaging people.
That's such a brilliant question because it means so many different things on so many different levels, and there's so many layers around it. So I'm going to talk about different kinds of awakenings. I'm going to talk about an awakening when people start to realize, wow, this world doesn't work in the way that I completely believed or thought. And you start to realize, wow, everything isn't what I believed it to be. And the world works so different. And how does it all fit together? And where do I fit? And that's the kind of awakening when you start to see and notice. And then
Mm-hmm.
furthering that is when you go down the rabbit hole and you explore more of things that most people might not take the time to explore or find out about. And that can bring a deeper level of, or deeper levels of that awakening. But another kind of awakening happens energetically, like a Kundalini awakening of light going and energy going through your whole energy system, blowing it open and expanding it and raising it up. And that could be another kind of awakening that happens energetically in the body and around the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the kind of awakening that happens when there's a shattering. And some shatterings can take, you know, years to repair from or to put oneself back together again in a different way. Because when you experience a shattering, your whole energetic structure and everything starts to change, and it opens a portal to travel through to experience something much bigger. So there's many different kinds of awakenings. And then there's awakenings that people have if they do plant medicines.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, there's a lot of different kinds. Um, I had a big I had a big one on a plant medicine journey where I completely died and didn't think I was coming back at all. And I had to fully accept that I wasn't coming back. And that was huge. And not only did I 100% accept that I wasn't coming back, I 1,000% accepted it. And I completely let go. And then, boom, I merged completely with the white light and lost all sense of identity and reality. That that was interesting, and it took a long time to process, especially when I wasn't expecting to come back, and then afterwards was sitting there, you know, talking to
Yeah.
God and realized, "Oh, I think I will come back."
So what I call that type of awakening is a leap of orbit or going up the next octave. Okay, because what happens is that we have these awakenings, and some are small and we process them and we go through our iterations and we go through our changes and then we navigate and we move forward. But to describe what you went through, um to me, that leap of orbit and that transition showed you something that isn't of this world. And
Yeah,
so
and
that being so and coming back and engaging and then having to be back here. Yeah.
I've had a few dimensional things like that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's funny because I used to see this Vedic astrologer. I was talking about this in this spiritually raw interview, but the Vedic astrologer back in the 90s, he was a world famous Vedic astrologer named Chakrapani. He was Baba Muktananda's astrologer.
Okay.
And Baba Muktananda was one of the teachers that brought Shaktipat to the West. And Chakrapani was absolutely amazing, so plugged in psychically. And sitting with him was like sitting with a dignitary or a diplomat. And he had a law degree from India, and he came from this family of Vedic astrologers. And he was a wow, sitting with him. And he told me things back then because I had a few sessions with him and I took a class from him once that I didn't remember all of everything
Mhm.
he told me until this last year. And I started remembering more of it. Okay. And he told me back then that when I was in my Rahu cycle, which is the north node of the moon in Vedic astrology, it's an 18-year cycle, which I'm in now. He
Okay.
said, when you're in your Rahu cycle, you're going to wake up. And I thought that was interesting, you know. And I think on some level, I really wanted that. Although even though I could imagine that, I didn't know what that would be like or look like, even though I could imagine it. And then I've been taking these vortex healing classes, which is a healing path and an awakening path. And they have a tree of about 50 something classes. And they're taught through energy transmissions from spiritually awake teachers.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the middle of the tree, there's a class called Corveil. And last November, miraculously, I was able to go to Corveil because there's 6 classes before that are prerequisites. Okay.
Mhm.
And um, so I had done all the prerequisites. I and they're prerequisites for a reason. So because they don't want anybody coming unglued during core veil, because the core veil is around the heart and it's connected to the sixth dimension. And when it comes off, some people can be very emotional because they can feel like they're dying. And there were 180 people on there from all over the world. It was a 7-day class and 15 people repeating. And the first day, the core veil gets removed. Now, you can't put it back,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And when the core veil gets removed, everybody is spiritually awake after that. And I felt it come off. It was very subtle. But what was confusing is, you go back into your life, okay? You still have your household responsibilities, relationships. Um, People still have to go to work. People still get to pick up their kids from school. And everything is still the same. And everything is changed.
Yes.
Everything.
Okay.
And they have other veil classes later on after that, which they don't expand the awakening, they deepen it. So
Mm,
I've done one other one since then, which is the inner veil. That was a really wild ride, those 4 days for me. Like
okay.
all my stuff came up like on the third day. Um, yes, stuff can still come up when you're spiritually awake, people. It does not take away your problems, issues, emotional way of being. You're just not as attached to it.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. So I'm looking and listening at what you've shared. And to me, first of all, the fact that you've been an intuitive healer for 30 years, I want to know about how you learned about your gift to start using it, one. And then the second thing is, did these episodes or did these scenarios, whether it's the teaching of the class or the experience that you had, deepen or amplify that which you've already been gifted with?
Wow, so many things shifted and changed. So let me go to the first part. The first part was how I got into it.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Okay.
how
I had
discovering it.
two I had two really strong spiritual experiences that I wasn't expecting in high school.
Okay,
I had an out of body experience. Um, we were running around the track testing our pulse rates for biology class, and I got myself into a meditative state with my breathing, not knowing it. I
okay,
kept repeating in my mind while I was running, go, 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 go. And my breathing was regulated. So I was walking back to class afterwards and I felt a little light, and boom, my soul or spirit came up above me. And I was looking at myself and everybody around in the parking lot and the cars from about a few feet above me. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? Wait a minute. I want to go camping next weekend with my family, come back. Well, when it came back like this.
uh-huh.
And when it came back like that and settled into me, I felt a little off for about 2 hours, like a headachy, stomach achy a little bit for 2 hours. And, you know, that was a lot for at 15 years old to think about. And then the other thing that happened was I was in a driver's education class and we were watching a film where they do the cables to jumpstart the car.
Right.
And when they connect, and I was tilting my chair back while I was watching. I had a bad habit of tilting my chair back sometimes. And what happened was when they connected the cables to the car in the film, I almost fell back to the floor in my seat
Oh, wow.
because it was like me, but not as me now, me in another lifetime going to check something underneath the hood of the car and it exploded and I died. And I had that whole death memory of reliving that explosion. And that was why I almost hit the floor while I was tilting the chair. So I never told anybody about that. Okay. And
Okay.
I went when I was 19 years old for my very first reading. He was a professional psychic. He was a cousin of a very good friend of mine. And I went and had a reading with him at 19 years old. And I had a very profound reading. But one of the things he first started with, and he couldn't have been mind reading me at the time because I wasn't even thinking about it at the time, was um, he said, "You had a past life in Germany and you went to go check something underneath the hood of the car and it exploded and you died.
Wow.
And you have to be careful watching violent movies because they can trigger those kinds of memories for you." So um, I was like, wow. So there was just no hiding. I couldn't deny it, you know? And so during that really profound reading, he mentioned other things. Like I knew I had a past life in Sweden because when I went to Sweden later on, I could walk all over Stockholm and know exactly where I was going without a map.
Wow.
And the thing is, during that reading, he goes, "Yeah. And when you're in your mid 20s, you're going to be doing readings and work similar to what I'm doing." And I'm thinking, "Oh, yeah, right. That really doesn't match my career pictures." And so I left there. I couldn't deny how profound the reading was, but I wanted to just dismiss that part. And I met my first teacher when I was 20. She was an amazing healer and she taught healing and shamanism and all the things I wanted to learn about, but she knew I could see before I knew I could see.
Okay.
So everything that she taught me to do was behind the steering wheel of the car. She would fly from Oregon down to LA to teach somewhere, and I would drive her 2 or 3 hours. And I wasn't allowed to look at her. I could only look at the cars in the back rear view mirror and the cars around me and in front of me. And she would have me go and connect with the guides and tell her who was there, what they were saying, and she'd ask questions. And it taught me how to be in two places at once, even
Wow.
though I don't recommend learning that way. But yeah. And so I could be in some of the most crowded places and still can tap in and pull it through.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Coffee amplifies it, I found out, for me anyway,
Wow.
where or green tea, anything with that. I don't need it, but it amplifies it. Um, and so when I was 25, I had a non-specific virus in my liver. It showed up on two liver panels and blood panels, and I was in a lot of pain. I'd have enough energy to go to work, and I'd come home and crash out. And I went for acupuncture and herbs to control the pain. And then I knew I needed to see this shaman that I met a year before at a medicine wheel gathering for a healing. And after a month of calling, I got an appointment. I drove up to Santa Cruz to see him. We met on a parking lot at a donut shop, and he took me to this area around these redwood trees. And he did a healing on me on that Friday. And he said, "This is going to get worse before it gets better, but we'll know by next Wednesday if it works. And tonight I'll dream about you to see how I can help you." Well, that night wasn't so bad, but the following 2 days was so bad. I was curled up on the floor in agony that when Monday came around, I went back in for a third liver panel and blood panel. And when I went in for the results that Wednesday, nothing, completely clear. And I thought,
Wow.
wow, that's pretty good because things in the liver aren't always easy to get rid of.
No.
So um, after that, I had this inner voice come through saying, "You're being opened up to readings." And I was like, forget it. I'm not doing any readings. And so then I'd have all this pain, like in my liver area, and then after the pain would go away, all these downloads and visions would come through about things I wouldn't have a clue about other people. So when I would resist it, I'd have pain, and when I didn't resist it, I would have no pain.
Oh,
So
wow.
then I started to open with it and work with it, but believe it or not, I was really shy back then. And so I didn't know what I would tell people if they were going to come for readings unless they had questions. And so I, um, three different groups of friends all referred me to this same woman who did numerology readings. And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any readings right now. Forget it. But I went out one Friday night with one group of friends and she was there. I couldn't avoid her. And we talked and I really liked her. And I went for a reading and it was life changing. And we became friends. And I originally wanted to learn the numerology to have as a social icebreaker if people were going to come in for readings as a place to start. But when I saw what it could do, meaning the numbers don't lie,
Right.
I thought, and it's kind of like a GPS. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so it's been like a life learning for me. And that was kind of how it all started.
Okay, I absolutely love the story. And numerology is one of the things that is not necessarily understood by people and how it could be life changing. Can you share just a little bit of how numerology plays a role and tells a story? You don't have to convince me. I'm a mathematician, right? So I'm like the numbers speak, right? I love numbers. I
That's so
absolutely
great.
love them.
I so
So
admire that about you because math has always been my worst subject. Like I've never been able to wrap my mind around it completely. And I failed basic math in high school. And my
uh-huh.
friend said, well, what do you expect? They give you 100 problems a day to do.
Yeah, but like I'm currently learning gematria for the Kabbalah. And so like when I look at the numbers, believe me, even though I'm a mathematician, it makes me feel like I'm starting all over because in that respect, I can't use linear learning. It's not linear learning. So it's like I'm relearning all over again. But if you could share your version, it's important to hear from somebody who's had the experiences that you've
The numbers are like frequencies or vibrations. And it's like a key on a piano.
had. Mm,
And they, yeah, they have different meanings or feel it or experiences. Um, it's really interesting because they never lie. You know, I can always tell when somebody's going to have a challenging period and why and
mhm.
how long. And, you know, when they have major gateways in their blueprints, which are 5 years of complete reinvention and redesigning of one's life, where they have some of their biggest breakthroughs ever and some of their biggest breakdowns ever happening concurrently for 5 years. Those can be full on.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if this is answering your question completely.
It does because the fact that numbers have frequencies, the fact that numbers tell a story, they're a language in and of itself. There's symbolism, and then actually numbers are what backs everything up, whether it's metaphysical or whether it's scientific or whether it's
Yeah.
even psychological. You know, it's all backed up in numbers. So to me, it's very, very meaningful.
And my numerology teacher was like a library. She knew so much about it. Like what I know compared to what she knew, I would be like in kindergarten or preschool. She knew hidden factors and quantums and numbers and addresses of planets based on
Okay.
numbers, everything.
Wow. Wow. To
So
be well versed like that is something else, because that means that there was a great deal of study in sacred texts and ancient texts in order to understand that.
I think she brought it through with her because she was really remarkable. She, when she was 17, after her grandfather's passing, she went with her mom on a spontaneous trip up to Mount Shasta. And they were having lunch together, she told me. And some guy approached her mom after lunch to have a reading. And her mom would never want to have a reading because her mom was very science based. And, and her mom said yes. And she couldn't believe it. And she went into this, like, oh, it was like a trailer type store, and had the reading. And Gail Marie, my numerology teacher, said, I want to have one. And her mom said no. But Gail Marie went in anyway. And the woman behind the counter said, would it surprise you if we did something? And Gail Marie said, no. Why? What are you going to do? And she pulled out Gail's numerology chart and astrology chart from behind the counter. And she said, we need a master numerologist. We've been waiting for you. And this is what you're going to go through in your life, should you say yes to taking this on. And
Wow.
boom, everything happened. And the next day she went back to look for them and they were gone. The trailer wasn't even there.
That's
Pretty wild.
okay. Yeah, that's wild. And then, we look at people like the great ones. You can go all the way back to Aristotle, you can go to Plato, you can go to Socrates, you can go to Einstein, you can go to Abelio, you can go to Norm Chomsky, you can go to Husserl. You can look at these people, they all had something in common. I think that the meditation state and where they dipped in for that expertise, that place where you are asking the questions of the world that are so profound that that question becomes the map that is in your energy structure. And then when you go in to meditate and you go to that place where the answers are, that place where the masters go. I mean, to me, it's so it's profound, because
I
and it
want to
sounds like
share
with one of
I
those
want to share
people.
a little I want to share a little story that I've
Okay.
never really shared before on any kind of interview or talk. I used to take groups to Peru to work with the shamans.
Mhm.
And on the trip, there'd be a couple of plant medicine experiences that were optional. So they weren't the major focus of the trip. But the shamans called it Waichuma, which some people call San Pedro, which is a tea. And we had a little ceremony of it at Machu Picchu, the crystal city.
Mhm.
And
I've been.
he took us to the cave of Pachamama, where there are these big, I don't even know if I could have words to describe them. You walk into the little cave there, okay, and there's these huge boulders that are against each other with maybe a crevice between them. And he invited people who felt ready or who wanted to move through the heart of Mother Earth, Pachamama, by moving through the crevices. But I took a look inside those crevices and I thought, wow, I don't know how some people are going to get through because, you know, some people have a little bit more weight. And I thought my bum was too big. But I saw this woman go through and she was a little big on the front and a little big up behind, and she got through it. And I thought to myself, hmm, okay, I'm going to go for it. But it was the kind of thing that if someone got stuck in there, they'd be screwed because they wouldn't be
There's no
able
moving the
to get
boulders.
out of there probably for days, and it would probably require heavy equipment, okay? Heavy machinery. So, and even then, I don't even know how it would happen. I guess I wasn't completely thinking because when I got in it and my whole body was in, I got completely stuck. And I'm like, oh my God, I am so screwed. I am so stuck. I can't move forward and I can't move backward and I can't move. I am stuck between these two boulders in this crevice. And my whole body was in there. And I thought, okay, calm down, calm down, calm down. Just breathe. You don't have to figure this out at this moment. Just breathe and calm yourself down. And so I did, and I calmed down and I breathed. And what was interesting that occurred was I had to wiggle through another dimension to start to loosen up and pull myself out of there. Those are interdimensional pathways.
Yeah.
And the more I was able to open up and go in through that dimension, it freed me up to move through that whole pathway. So, why I'm sharing this is because I was relieved once I got through it, but opened and expanded at the same time in my heart, which freed me to trust more. And I think that's where people's big healing is around trust and opening up their hearts to feel safe and to feel safe to trust. That's a big awakening right
It
there.
is. It is.
And we're always working with the unseen forces to create and to move around and move through. We get to make friends with that and not be afraid of the unknown because mastery lives in the unknown. We know what we
Mhm.
know about.
We
We know
do.
what we don't know about, but we don't know what we don't know. And that's exciting territory.
The ethers and timelessness. I love it. So I can't believe we're coming up on an hour, and I don't want to end this, but we do have time for just, you know, one more question. And I'm sitting here thinking, instead of asking you the question, I'm just going to ask, would you just please share with our studio audience just one little tidbit that you want them to remember you by as that intuitive reader and numerologist? Because I have to tell the audience, you would be blessed to have a session with David Groode. Okay, phenomenal, and the wisdom and the presence that you bring is just beautiful light.
Thank you
So
so much.
can you enlighten us with
This
your
is what
last?
comes to me. When you ask me that, this is what truly comes to me. Free your creativity, everybody, because the creativity will open so many doors for you and bring you so much joy in your lives. Free your creativity without judging it. Allow it to just come through in whatever form or whatever way, whether it's improv, comedy, writing, art, music, dance, acting, um, any kind of cooking, any kind of creativity, renovations, products, It'll just open so many doors and bring you so much fulfillment and joy. And it will expand your heart and your mind.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Can I
Thank
say
you
one other
so
thing?
much. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I put together, I know, I always sign all these petitions that come online. And sometimes I think, wow, I'm really glad I know about this, but what's a petition going to do? Okay, it can bring more awareness, but what is it actually going to do? So I decided the other day I was going to create my first petition on change.org because I thought, we're in 2024. Why are we still having wars on our planet and other things that really have no business to be in our world anymore? Like human trafficking,
Yeah.
slavery, abuse of animals or children or women, all these things that are just completely unacceptable. Why is it that murder is illegal and yet we're still having wars, which gives people the freedom to go and murder people? So I did this petition because I was just kind of over it.
Mhm.
And, to make wars illegal across the board, out of our world and anyone that funds it or contributes towards it. And so at first it didn't get so much traction. Like I had to do another post about it. And maybe people don't think a petition will do anything, or maybe people, just didn't feel like taking the time out to sign it, or maybe the post didn't reach people, but it started to gain a little traction. And then I got this email from change.org that they were going to put so much towards advertising it on their website and on Google. And we plant seeds every day with what we create. And those seeds can grow into something we don't even know about yet for future generations. And it really comes down to, what are we willing to wake up and say no to, or take,
Mhm.
and go, no more. This is not acceptable. Why are we hiring these people to be in our governments, or why are they selected or elected, either way, if they're going to abuse that power and allow these things to continue? We all get to wake up to what we're here for, what we can do while we're here to make things better, and who we want to align with to support. And we all get to unite and be bigger than what part of, what people's bank accounts are, what their skin color is. Oh, I want to say one other thing now. Do we have time or not?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Okay. I had a big surprise. It blew me away. Okay. I have this ladies coaching group, and it's really well integrated, and the ladies are amazing. And I was telling the ladies one night, yeah, I feel like I've had African lifetimes or something, because I feel more black inside than I do white.
Mhm.
And one of the ladies, one of the African American women in there came back with a question that blew me away because I wasn't expecting it. And I didn't equate it at first consciously. And she said, "Would you be willing to give up your privilege?" And I hesitated for a second because I was so blown away by the question. She said, "Hesitation is a no vote." But I had to explain to her later on that the question blew me away and I needed to think about it a little bit. And I wanted to be able to say, yes, I would. And I thought about it more. And I thought about it more. And I thought about it more. And I finally came to, yes, I would. I want to believe that anyway, in the deepest part of my heart. So I just wanted to share that. It's things we don't all think about always, that we take
Exactly.
for granted.
Exactly. And then the thing is that if you feel that way, you probably were in a past life. So there it
Mm,
is. There it is.
exactly.
How can people reach you? How can they have a session with you? How can they
Um,
connect?
I have a website. Everybody is welcome to visit. Inner, precision, precision.com. People could text me. I'm really good with text, especially if it's international. 707 548 7500. If you're dialing from outside of the US to text, it's got to have a 1 in front of it. If people, I prefer people text me if they're out of the country, out of the US, because my phone's not set up for international calls so much unless it's um, through an app like WhatsApp. So 707, so one first, one for US, 707 548 7500.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
so,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a pleasure it is. Always. So, this has been another episode of The Infinite Way where spirituality meets humanity. And I want to thank you, David Groode, for joining us. And I want to just say if you liked what you heard, please share it. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And we want to thank you. And we hope to see you for the next Infinite Way. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.